Cabbage-Pult, the most hated plant in all of PvZ2. Well, unless you want to include something like garlic or intensive carrots. And Cabbage-Pult is really hated by the community. And a lot of people really state it as bad, and in almost every single tier list that involves him, he is usually in F tier. But is Cabbage-Pult actually really that bad? Well, this is what I'm gonna be trying to answer in this challenge. Can you beat all of Plants vs Zombies 2 while only using Cabbage-Pult? The rules for this are simple. Number 1, I can only use Cabbage-Pult, obviously. Number 2, I can't use power-ups aside from Ancient Egypt 2, as that's the tutorial for them. And finally, rule number 3 is that pre-planted plants are allowed. So if the game gives me a random plant in the level, then I am allowed to use them. So for example, save your seeds and all that stuff. So yeah, today's video we're gonna be covering Ancient Egypt. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get straight into the challenge. Day 1 of Ancient Egypt is as easy as the rest of this world will be, hopefully. It's not really that bad, as it doesn't really have anything interesting aside from introducing the infamous raw zombie. So yeah, just moving on. Day 2 is just the power-up tutorial, so yeah, you already know how this goes, so yeah, just moving on. Day 3 introduces camel zombies, who are not really that tough to deal with. If you don't have piercing plants, then they can be somewhat tough, but with cabbages, plant food, they're not too bad. Plus the cardboarded camel doesn't really have too much health, so there isn't really that much of a difference. So yeah, moving on. Day 4 is the impossible boomerang tutorial, and not much else to say. Day 5 introduces Explorer Zombie, who are gonna be somewhat of a difficult threat, but they're not that bad. Sure, they can burn our Cabbage-Pults, but as long as we kill them very quick, they're not that bad to deal with. Yes, the infamous Gargantua stage, because why not have it 6 days into the world? Anyway, that aside, the level is not that bad. Sure, we can't kill the Gargantua normally because Cabbage-Pult is somewhat bad at doing it, but it's not too bad. And also the fact that the convertible doesn't really give us that much Cabbage-Pults, as of course it gives us boomerangs, walnuts, and iceberg lettuces. So yeah, unfortunately I have to let the Gargantua use the mower, but overall it's not too bad, and we can continue on. Day 7 is somewhat strange, with it giving us quite a lot of sun, like if it were a last stand, but also allowing us to pick our own plants like a regular level. So it's somewhat confusing, but overall this is not that interesting, so yeah, just skip. It introduces Tomb Raiser Zombie, who if anything doesn't really do that much, just like Raw Zombie. His main gimmick is that every once in a while he'll throw a random bone that spawns a grave, and he can spawn 2 of these. But the main thing is that Cabbage-Pult was designed for 2 counter graves. Actually, every single lobbing plant can do this. So Tomb Raiser is actually not that bad. In fact, he might also be helpful as he's making the graves, so it kind of makes the shots easier. But other than that, yeah, he doesn't really mean that much for the challenge. Day 11 is unfortunately an impossible locked and loaded level. And Day 12 introduces Pharaoh zombies, who are actually gonna be a bit of a problem, just like camel zombies with their health, as they're somewhat similar to a bucket head. But it's not too bad overall. The speed change and when a sarcophagus is destroyed and he's just a normal zombie doesn't really affect anything as it doesn't increase eating speed. So yeah, overall he's not too bad. It's just the health is gonna be a little bit of concern, but either way we can move on. Day 13 is the first mold colony level. These levels don't really pose that much of a challenge. Sure, it does restrict where we can and cannot plant our Cabbage-Pults, but they're not too bad as of right now. But hey, this is ancient Egypt, and they will get a lot worse later on, but let's not think about that. Let's just move on. Day 15 is the first Savior Seeds level, which gives us 3 sunflowers, and like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I am allowed to use these because it's the game who planted them there and not me. So yeah, and they basically just become an advantage because yeah, sun. Anyway, let's move on. Day 18 is the first last stand level, which has quite a lot of sandstorms, and it also somewhat shows about the usability of Cabbage's plant food, which is great because this is the only plant I'm ever going to be using throughout the challenge. So yeah, nothing much else to say. Day 19 is once again another simple mold colony level, and day 20 is another Save Your Seeds level with sunflowers, and you guessed it, yeah, we're gonna be taking advantage of these. Yeah. Day 22 is another mold colony level, and for some reason this level auto picks twin sunflower, kernel pult, and melon pult. I have no idea, but I'm not gonna be using them, so yeah, I don't really care. Day 23 has the second and final gargantua of this world, and just like day 6, we unfortunately had to let go to the lawnmower, but yeah, either way it's not that bad. And yeah, moving on to the next level. And day 24 is the second and final last stand level of this world, which once again shows the usability of Cabbage-Pult's plant food, especially with the sandstorm, as there's a lot of sandstorms in this level, like, oh my gosh. Anyway, let's continue forwards. And now, day 25, the Zombot Sphinxinator. Good start. Let's just cut to the chase here. For starters, there's the fact that we're using Cabbage-Pult for this fight, right? Well, because the conveyor belt gives you Repeater, Bloomerang, Gravebuster, Bonk Choy, Iceberg, Potato Mine, and Walnut, it is ever rarely going to give you the Cabbage-Pult you need. And another thing is that the game somewhat expects you to use Repeater's plant food to mostly take out zombies. Well, I tried to do that, but instead replace Repeater with Cabbage-Pult. But Cabbage-Pult's plant food doesn't actually do that much damage to zombies. Another thing is crowd control. As you guys know from my Neon Mixtape Tour video where I talked about the plants, lobbing plants are not that good at dealing with crowd control. So when you put the fact that I have to use Cabbage-Pult, and let's just look at what it does. Oh, it's a lobbing plant. So you can imagine how difficult crowd control could be. Another thing is the consistency with plant food. As in the first wave, yes, zombies will spawn basically just an entire city of plant food, but sometimes it comes from cone heads, and Cabbage-Pult's plant food can actually deal with cone heads in one shot, just like how it can deal with basic zombies. But hey, let's say that you're lucky enough with your plant food and all that stuff to make it past the first wave. Well, you have already lost because there is no way you're gonna be able to take on the swarms of bucket heads and cone head zombies sends out. Another thing is that Zombot sends out gargantuas during this phase, and yeah, good luck trying to kill those with Cabbage-Pult's plant food only. And you might be saying, hey, why don't you just try to shovel up and dig up all the plants you can't use for this? Well, I tried that, but the convertible is just gonna give you more of them anyway. Try placing plants on the lawn to trick the game into giving you more Cabbage-Pults. That is not gonna work, as either A, somebody is gonna jump around and make them attack, or B, he's gonna spawn gravestones, which will trigger the plants into attacking mode. It's only walnuts, icebergs, and potato plants. I could say this safely works, but you still gotta deal with the other 3 plants in the convertible. Not to mention that Gravebuster can't even be used because he can't be shoveled up. He's still gonna take out the gravestone unless the zombie decides to fully munch on him. I really wanted to prove that this level was possible with only Cabbage-Pult, this being the only boss fight that I can even do. But my best run saw me losing to some bucket hits going through one lane that didn't have any lawnmowers. But even if it had lawnmowers and I had managed to kill it, that wouldn't have mattered because Samos had spawned a Gargantuar anyway, which, yeah, I'm definitely taking that out. So yeah, unfortunately, this level is impossible for the challenge. So I just had to beat the boss normally. It was disappointing, but I had to do it. And with that, we have beaten almost all of ancient Egypt with only Cabbage-Pult. It was really easy, but I mean, this should be expected, especially since this is the first row of the game, also means it's the easiest. But yeah, in the next episode we're going to be tackling on the Pirate Seas. With all that said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.